We are at Dijon for the French Grand Prix of 1984, round 5 of the championship. As you can see, there are two McLarens on the front row, so Niki Lauda has managed to get his act together, and he has taken pole position from his World Championship leading teammate Alain Prost. Can Lauda get his season back on track? De Angelis third, Lotus performing very well still. Arnoux fourth. He's had a bit of a difficult season. He could do with a good race today, but his title-chasing teammate, Michele Alboreto, is right behind him, and he may well be required to make way for him during the race. Nigel Mansell did a solid second driver job at Lotus, getting into 6th place, but he's going to have to watch Keke Rosberg. That Williams continues to improve, but he hasn't actually qualified as well today as he did in Imola, so maybe there's some hope for Mansell to be able to hold him off. A couple of people who haven't done quite so well here as they have done in recent races: Derek Warwick, Ayrton Senna, only just at the foot of the top 10. Then you see Nelson Piquet in 11th place. So Piquet, yesterday in qualifying, he seemed on for a good lap, but he ran wide at the parabolic, and that just cost him a bit of time. I would be very surprised if Piquet isn't catching up and maybe even on the tail of those McLarens by the end of the race. We've seen it in previous races that the cars have the pace, and although Piquet does tend to drop off when he's fighting from the front, but when he's coming from behind, he does tend to do okay, although he only made it to 12th in Imola, so there are a few question marks there. So I've made it halfway through the grid, and I've had quite a bit to talk about. I'm just now sort of starting to settle down, and we see the Tyrrells not doing quite as well as they have done in recent races qualifying, but 15th and 18th for Beloff and Brundle. When you look at where they started in Rio, it's still not too bad. The red and blue liveried Ligier, I always thought they were just purely blue in this season, but maybe I am wrong. Well, clearly by the looks of the game. So they're in 21st and 23rd. Hesno out qualifying De Cesaris. Berger starts 24th, and then there are 32 runners, but they go off the scale of the game. So be interesting to see how this race goes. We're going to ride with Nelson Piquet again. Let's see how it goes. So Piquet is getting ready on the grid. There are 32 runners. Nelson Piquet starting 11th, and he will hope to have a good start and to get up and to challenge for points today. But it's a slightly slow getaway, and Piquet has been passed by Lafitte and his teammate Fabi. And Nelson now going to switch over and have a look to the inside down into turn 1. What are you going to do? How brave going to be on the brakes? Well, it's no Villeneuve in 1979. Villeneuve only 1979 performance there from Piquet, is it? It's they backed on a bit and ended up having to let Lafitte go. And Piquet now, so he's actually dropped a place from his starting position. He's down in 12th. You have a bit disappointed with that. Normally positions do get made up, but they've not been here. And he doesn't even appear to have that much pace at the moment, although he'll now be closing a little round here. And Piquet looking at that Williams of Jacques Lafitte. He's got to be the first target. He's lost a little bit of grip there as he comes out of the parabolic. That's where he went off in qualifying, without which he probably would have been top 6, if not top 3. But not really showing that sort of pace at the moment, is he, Piquet? He's pretty much just, I think, taking it easy, maybe not that confident on the circuit. Maybe he's got the wrong tyres. He's gone for the softs. We thought it was going to be a damp race start. That hasn't materialised, but whatever's going on, the other cars seem more suited to the circuit than Nelson Piquet, and he's made a wrong choice somewhere. I think he's now 2 seconds off of Ayrton Senna already, who is the guy who's dropped to 11th. That's Holman, not with much race pace today, unfortunately. Piquet holding on to 12th, and he's actually having to defend with his teammate Thierry Fabi. Now Piquet has destroyed Fabi this year, but Fabi goes around the outside, and that's the first bit of excitement Piquet's had in this race, because he's just going backwards, and this is terribly, terribly disappointing for a guy who's still 3rd in the World Championship, only 5 points of the title lead. But Prost is up in the top 2. That McLaren looks unbeatable this weekend, and Prost is only going to be on for 6 or 9 points. That's going to put Piquet over a win behind, and seemingly without a car to do anything about it. He's under pressure from Patrese now as he tries to hold him off, and well, this is disappointing, and it's a slightly longer race in terms of laps. We're all set at 5%, but this is the 4-lap race, so Piquet's got an extra lap of pain compared to some of the other races he's had to do this year, and it's not going to be a great thing. We'll see what's the classification. It is Prost leading Lauda or De Angelis. I did just see that, so Lauda's dropped back slightly. I think he's still in the podium places though. He needs something, Niki Lauda, this year, because as we've seen, he's not been higher than 5th yet. So, but that McLaren is supposed to be unbeatable this year, so we'll on this race. So we'll see. Piquet still trying to hold the ground, but not really a lot to say about him at the moment. He's having to go very conservatively. He's now, is that 4.6 behind Fabi? Fabi passed him and he thought Piquet was going to get him back, but it's not happened. He's got no pace. It really is a genuine struggle. We picked up on it earlier in the race, but that struggle has got a lot harder, and Piquet struggling to get around the parabolic. That corner was his nemesis in qualifying. It appears to have been his nemesis most of the weekend, but I think there's other sectors of the circuit in which he's slow, and he's got to find some confidence around there just to guarantee he's beaten Beloff in the Tyrrell. Beloff is now the next guy applying pressure to Piquet. So here we go. I think he's lifting off, coming around to the straight, so that's helping. He should be getting on the throttle much earlier than he is. We know that BMW's got a little bit of straight line speed still, because that is the only place that the gap centre is coming down, and it's actually come down from 6 to just above 5 as we go into the final lap. Piquet's got to be more aggressive if he wants to try to find out if there's a next time at Dijon. I know some people put Dijon, I'm not really sure. It sounds like a donkey to me. But yeah, if he wants to be competitive next time at Dijon, he's got to pick it up somehow. And there's clearly no confidence in Nelson Piquet on the circuit, certainly not at the moment. He's got Senna 5 seconds ahead, he's got Beloff just 2 tenths behind. And what a galling race this has been for Nelson Piquet. He's in the same position he was in Imola, but at least in Imola he started 32nd and he made up 20 positions, and he clearly just got timed out by the race running out of time. Here is not a question of that, it's a question of he's got at least 4 or 5 cars behind him who are quicker than him. Prost wins the Grand Prix. Niki Lauda finally gets on the podium, takes the 2nd place, and then Arnoux and Alboreto 3rd and 4th for Ferrari. So Alboreto's finished by his title chasing teammate. We did see De Angelis go off briefly there. We know De Angelis didn't make the finish. I didn't point out in the commentary, but he did spin off, I think, on the 3rd lap maybe, or just see the Lotus in the gravel trap there. Yes, Prost wins the Grand Prix. Now this is starting to look quite healthy for Alain Prost, but it's a McLaren 1-2, a Ferrari 3-4. Then Nigel Mansell brings home Lotus a couple of consolation points in 5th, and then you've got Elio De Angelis. No, you haven't. Keke Rosberg in 6th place. Well, that mistake was so glaring that after I just talked about De Angelis spinning off, that it made me cough. And there's certainly no point in not mocking myself, because I would do it to anybody else. Anyway, back to the race results. Alain Prost, the winner. That is going very well for him this season. He leads the championship by a win from Michele Alboreto now. Lauda finishes 2nd, so that's his first podium of the season. Great performance from him. Arnoux 3rd, so he has been allowed to beat his teammate. I don't know if that was a tactical error from Ferrari. They don't feel like they're going to be challenging, or they just want to let their drivers race. But a driver who had only had 3 points, not all for his own doing. We know he had that engine failure and big then barrel roll when he got hit from behind in Kyalami, but you know, he's not got that many points, so really it would have made sense to get him to move over for the driver who is competing, but no, it didn't happen. Nigel Mansell 5th place for Lotus. De Angelis did retire. He was running up in, I wasn't sure if it was 2nd or 3rd, but he was certainly in the podium positions. He qualified in 3rd, and I think he might have got ahead of Lauda at one point, but he either spun off or had a problem, I believe. He certainly ended up in the gravel, because when we went round past where he'd spun off, we could see his car clearly. So, yeah, disappointing result for De Angelis. And that's what happens. He gets good results. He's had a couple of strong 2nd places, but nothing else. And that's been 5 races, so he's retired from over half of them, or just underwhelmed. But he's been very good in 2 of them. So Mansell takes the consolation points for Lotus with 5th place. And Keke Rosberg does bring home a point for Williams in 6th. Then it's the 2 Renaults just outside of the points. Lafitte's had a much better weekend. Yes, he qualified outside the top 10, but he's fought his way up to finish 9th, so he's done pretty well there. And Fabi finishes 10th, outclassing his teammate Piquet, who I'm sure won't even want to talk about his race. So the World Championship standings after 5 rounds. Alain Prost leads it on 33 points. That is an entire race win ahead of Michele Alboreto, who is second on 24. Nelson Piquet, who was right up there a couple of races ago, is now 14 behind Prost. He is still in third, but he's going to have to improve his fortune and his luck. De Angelis 4th on 12, Lauda 5th on 11th, Arnoux 6th on 7. The constructors, McLaren 43, Ferrari 31, Brabham 19, Lotus 17. And then the rest. Like and subscribe.